Well, let's see who can back it up in the server. Villa's a good map for both teams, and here we are in the Japan Championship quarterfinals. Good luck, have fun, comes out in the chat as we jump straight into the op bans.
Yeah, and Blue Bees will get to start first. Taking a quick look back to Villa on day one for Blue Bees. They did ban out the Ying and they did ban out the Mirror. So there you go. Helps to do the homework. Obviously for USG, do they look to maybe try and slow down Israel? Do they go? I don't think you'd go for like a Nook ban or something. They might just keep it conventional, maybe a Thatcher here. Oh, in some ways, I guess technically, the line gets taken off the board, so potentially seeing somewhat of an attacking threat there from Blue Bees, and they are a team that could actually utilize that lion, I think, quite extensively with the aggressive nature of their team composition.
Yeah, you know, the big elephant in the room there is that Thatcher has been allowed through, and look, that's no Blue Bees are no stranger to playing with a Thatcher on this map, or at least with the Thatcher unbanned. For example, in that game against Sengoku, it was the Dokkaebi and the Ying that got banned, so the Thatcher slipped through. And as for USG, they've also been familiar with it. You know, when they played Reject last time, it was Hibana Twitch bans. So Thatcher is going to be in. Whether or not teams decide to use it, we'll see. But the defense is rounded out with a Malusi and a Mirror. Now, the Mirror, not such a surprise, you know, enabling those aggressive holds that most teams just don't want to play against. But that Malusi ban from Donuts USG, a really daring one. You know, they really want to play quite aggressive, quite mobile. Like, as for their defense, right, they're banning out Lion, which means that their roamers are going to have a lot of more mobility. They're not going to be locked in place. They're going to be able to go for larger roams without fears of being locked out from rotating back to site to support their teammates. And on the attack, like, they are going to be able to just send it into site if they want and not worry about any Banshees from Malusi.
And just quickly here as well, Blue Bees starting on the defense first. They're a team that showed a lot of proficiency in their attacking halves against Sengoku Gaming, and yet still had some pretty decent defense as well. When they played on Villa, they started on the attack first. They went 4-2 in that half, but then still had a 3-2 defensive half on Villa as well. So if they start strong here in the first half on their defense, whether it's 3-3, whether it's 4-2, you will definitely back them in on their attacking half. So if they, I guess, also start slow, James, if they have a 2-4 half and Donuts USG are capable of having a very strong attack here on Villa, I wouldn't then still count out Blue Bees either. It's their attack that they are definitely known for and what we've seen so far. But also on the defense, I mean, Israel straight onto the Vigil, right? Like, that's probably, again, a player to keep an eye on. He is going to roam. He is going to look to get in the face of USG, and he's going to be the entry point generally for Blue Bees. Ruin's also a top player when it comes to fragging out, and the Nalfa, Seichan, and Plunga look to them to support both of those two.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb.
So they're really hunting for these drones, just really diligent, looking through living. I really like that from Plunga. Israel, as you mentioned, the sharpest blade in the Blue Bees arsenal. They will start on this roam downstairs. We have some aggressive operators on the lineup of the attack as well. Is it Kaio? Is this Zafir, the YNYNO? I'm assuming that's a Kaio. Pretty sure. I'm going to make the assumption there. Just going to have to make the assumption. I don't know how I would pronounce that otherwise.
Trying to actually see who's that meant to...
Wait, this is going to be an engagement right here. Look at this. Isro, right around the corner. Who is that on the other side?
Left side of that entrance doorway. Isro, though, watching the right side, could end up maybe fighting him. No, it's TD that gets taken down. No surprise to see Isro with the opening kill, not just of this particular round, but also of this particular series. Arrow through the wall, not able to find the trade onto Israel. He gets away with his life intact.
I'm just going to say, I'm pretty sure as we see another pick come out, and once again, Sayachan, it's Blue Bees starting strong. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to save my analysis for later because they are just getting in and getting the job done. Donuts USG throwing what they can at Blue Bees, but Blue Bees are not to be made fools of. They will hold on.
Yeah, and again, it's Israel that starts it out though, isn't it, right? Finds that opening pick, suddenly then throws the spanner in the works. Defensively, Blue Bees are quite sound on site, but it's the off-site roamers, like Israel, that are going to be the ones that actually cause issue for Donuts USG. Once that first player gets taken down, suddenly then the rest start to fall like dominoes. Now, Kawao gets one back onto Palunga, but the damage has already been done here in this opening round. 4 versus 2. They've only got 1 minute. Diffuser down inside of Astro as well. So this is not looking good at all for USG, but it is only 1 round in a best of 3 as well, mind you. So obviously a long way to go. But good signs early on for Blue Bees. They watch that bathroom door. Easy kill, and this will be an easy round.
This is such a confident bait from Isro. You can just see the way that Isro is knifing, trying to bait out shots. Just saying, hey, mate, I know exactly where you are, and you're not even going to be able to hit you if I show you my leg. That is pure confidence right there from Isro. And Ruin is just going to fall all the way back. Go up to the roof, 20 seconds to go. And yeah, not even going to give this one a crack. Just rappel up, deny the KD from Blue Bees. And that is a very strong opening round from the defense.
5 seconds.
I guess now early on, do we decide, do we go with Renren or Rento? Technically it's meant to be Rento, but I actually like Renren as well. Renren, DD. It is Caillou, by the way. It has been confirmed, Dev, so you can rest your mind a little bit there. But a good start for Blue Bees. And again, maybe harping on this early on too much, Isro, but for good reason, is definitely a standout player. Of course, formerly of Donuts USG, subbed in for what is it? Yomasu?
Yuwamu?
Yuwamu? Yeah, I couldn't remember it off the very top of my head, but obviously has been having an amazing championship thus far.
Oh, yeah, and look, I do want to add another level of depth to that. Like, yeah, Isro was down in the basement and found that early pick, but I want to give some credit to Ruin, who was playing, I believe it was like dining with the Pulse, and actually with that cardiac sensor managed to see that player on the attacking side down in the basement. So no doubt that would have been feeding info to Isro, who would have then gone for that flank. So, I mean, yes, Isro was the hammer, but it was actually one of the other players, Ruin, who was holding that hammer and swinging it, I guess.
We head over to Aviator Games, AVG, here for our second round of this best of 3 matchup. Of course, Oregon to follow, Coastline if needed, so it's a marathon, not a sprint. And obviously for USG, there's another factor to this that we probably haven't touched on, but Rust. It's been a couple of days since they've really been able to play. They've been watching, they've been waiting. Blue Bees, of course, played on day 1. They're probably a little bit more warmed up than Donuts, and I guess you have to take it to note that a little bit coming into this particular matchup. It may take a couple of rounds. It may even take one whole match for USG to sort of find their feet a little bit. And a quick little side note, 3 Nitro Cells on the side of Blue Bees, again, highlighting their aggression. And again, Isro, with this roam game, that is someone that they need to flush out early on.
Yeah, I'm loving that consistent aggression from Blue Bees, and it's really on USG to try and do their best to punish. You really need to punish the aggression. Like, it's the thing that I think a lot of teams and players get trapped into, right? Like, when there's an aggressive lineup and an aggressive defense, your strategy shouldn't be like kind of abandon, put in the bin your normal, you know, step-by-step process for a map. First priority is just do not die, is just punish this aggression. And you're probably going to find yourself 2 or 3 picks, then you can convert to doing a normal attack, rather than trying to overcommit and overcomplicate. This could be a really nice early nade, just falls short for Pero. And unfortunately for USG, they haven't found that pick yet, though they have found some good ground and are continuing to attempt these vertical nades.
A little bit of splash damage back onto DD. That's fine. Not much is going to come from that. Timing. Oh, this nade. Pero just doesn't let it go, though. Looking to clear out Palunga. Gets a lot of damage, though. None of the Nitro Cells have actually gone back, and all of the nades have actually now been thrown out, really, from Donut. So I think they've only got the one left through DD. And that does mean, I guess, when it comes to that firepower utility, it's Blue Bees that might be able to win out in the late round. Of course, though, the flank, the roam, Isro catches out DD. And now it puts into mind getting that trade. Fortunately, Pero from top of Astro Stairs is able to peek out, find that kill very quickly. Palunga does go down. Suddenly, Donuts now maybe have found an avenue over towards AVG with a minute left. They've got that 1-man advantage. C4 from Sanchan, though, misses.
Yeah, didn't realize that Pero's actually gone really aggressive here. Sayachan falls all the way back, and okay, apparently we have a plant going down from USG. Pero has locked it down, but Sayachan has to make a move now, has no C4. Pero's gone huge this round. Now it's all on Sayachan to come back in the 1v3. He's got the diffuser right next to him, but does have to try and make an impact in terms of the man count still alive to make sure it's safe to deny. Sayachan is surely a piece of meat ready to be gobbled up here. 25 seconds left and the crossfires are too strong. USG definitely did not see that one coming, but they managed to get it across the line.
Yeah, especially since Israel got the opening kill. Again, the roam was successful. It was those on site, though, that just kind of fell one by one in a pretty quick manner as well, and then it just allowed Caillou to push onto site, get that diffuser down nice and early. And I think maybe Bluebees were a little bit caught napping, I guess, on the defense there. They still had nitro cells, they still had good position. Israel, of course, did eventually get traded relatively early on, made it a 4 versus 4, but USG, once they dealt with Israel, they were able to turn their entire focus to that site, to ABG, get that diffuser down, played it really well. Much better signs as well compared to that very, very opening round where honestly there were some little concerns with their attack, but again, it was only one round. You couldn't really put too much criticism onto them. And off the back of now, I guess, the opening 2 rounds, it's 1-1. We've got one good round from Bluebees, one good round from Donuts. And hopefully that gives us the signs and measure of what this best of 3 is going to bring for us throughout this entire match.
Yeah, look, I was really thinking that Bluebees were looking like the better team in that first round. I mean, obviously they won it, but just the nature of how the round played out, very optimistic for them. But a real big credit to USG. Like it's like we were talking about in the pre-show. They found an opening. Like they saw a way that they could exploit this hold, and in particular, thanks to banning that Malusi, it just made it so easy for them to just commit to pushing in. And you know, Pero was a large part of that. Got to find those multi-kills on the entry, really ripped the rug out from under Bluebees. But you can see that Bluebees are quite aware of that now, and just look at the number of traps they have brought. Like you've got Aruni, Capcan, and Legion, all entry denial operators and trap operators that are going to prevent that just rush site aggression from USG. So I think that's a really good adaptation.
Yeah, and while conventionally they're not exactly information gathering operators, they actually do it by way of, you know, their set gadgets. So you can actually also get some information off that. It's a bit of a byproduct at times. So decent little team composition here for Bluebees. Israel, though, once again, over towards Brown Stairs, finds the opening pick. I think that's now 3 rounds in a row. It's not a surprise, though. I mean, we set the tone early on in the pre-match discussion. This is the player to keep an eye on. If we had the ability to have basically just a player camp, it would be the Israel camp.
Yeah, and look, every single round it's been onto DD as well. Poor guy has just been the opening death. Every single round hasn't found an assist, hasn't found a kill, hasn't found anything, has just been the resident cam sitter for Donuts USG.
Bomb located by attackers.
But now we have Polonga actually downstairs lurking, always possible to go for that pantry rush. But it looks like Pero just hoping to find an opening. Should he find this pick, surely he just sends it.
Yeah, and the Nook is going to be very prevalent. I'm expecting Israel to play it as well for Bluebees when they go onto their attacking half. Minute and 18 seconds, so time has quietly dwindled down. Not a lot remaining now for USG to make a move. Caillou just goes in, sends it onto site. Kawau did the same, but now loses his life. Polonga, he's going to hit these shots and does so. Ruin also found a kill. This keeps it at a 1-man advantage for Bluebees, but technically 2-man. Nalfa will be able to finish off Caillou. That's diffuser down. Not much that we're going to be able to expect from Rento. Does find the kill to pad the stats onto Nalfa, but all things considered, 2v1, no diffuser. Diffuser in the sights in the grasp of Bluebees. Unless he finds his ball bang on the Polonga, there's no reason for him to peek this.
Yeah, got to tank the gate though. Fortunately, it's only a little bit of damage there. You can see the info is on from the bulletproof camera. Ren getting spotted out. Has to try and make something work. Doesn't have the diffuser. Oh, gets the boost up from the Thunderbird. And this is very much possible if Bluebees over peak here. Rento has to try to clutch this, has to isolate these 1v1s, doesn't have the diffuser, and Palonga is just waiting on the other side. Oh no, the timing there and the look away at the last second. Not enough for Rento, but BlueBees find their second defense.
Yeah, great start for both teams so far. I know it's a 2-1 scoreline for BlueBees, but we're seeing good signs, we're seeing close rounds. Something that was a little bit prevalent on day one in some of the first couple of best of threes that we had here for the Japan Championship was some very one-sided matches. In one particular best of three that I actually got to cast on day one, Guts versus Crest, we had multiple 5-1 halves, which was extremely surprising to see. Didn't have a whole lot of this sort of back and forth, one round here, one round there. And hopefully it can play out like that in this best of three between these two teams. I think it would make for a very good spectacle. Early days, 2-1, but a good start for BlueBees on the defense here on Villa, especially all things considered. We expect them to do even better on the attack. That maybe then does send some trigger warnings for Donuts USG that if they can't get like a 3-3 half here on their attack of Villa, they might be in a bit of trouble because it's BlueBees' attack that is generally more prevalent than their defense.
And specifically on Villa throughout the Japan Championship so far, it's actually been 60% defense sided. So you would usually expect a 4-2 for them. So, I mean, BlueBees haven't really exceeded expectations so far. They've kind of just met it. But there's still a chance for USG to win this half. Still a chance if they can find, you know, 2-3 more rounds, I'd say that they would be very confident. But I'd also say that that's kind of expected for them. Like, that's kind of required for them. This is their map pick. Next up, we'll go to Oregon, which BlueBees chose. And look, we have very little information for these teams on how well they'll do on Oregon, but you've got to assume, being BlueBees picked, that they'd be favored. So Donuts USG really have to make an impact here on Villa.
Yeah, you say that, obviously, like, I love stats just as much as you do, James, and a lot of the times that's the sort of storyline I'll be bringing up is the region-wide map statistics. But in the case of BlueBees, you know, they had a 4-2 attacking half against Sengoku. It was their attacking half on Villa that was dynamic, that was surprising, that was powerful. So in theory, yes, obviously on the defense, BlueBees will be expected to do well. 4-2 half, 3-3, that kind of area of margin. And if they do achieve that, though, they're not exactly going to let up on their attacking half. Donuts will need to be proficient on both halves if they are to win this map. That then puts into question as to why they picked Villa in the first place, considering the proficiency of BlueBees. So it all comes back to that map ban phase. And unfortunately for USG, not the best start, but maybe here in the fourth round, if they can make it 2-2, continue to keep it a pretty close margin, they can bring it back. Obviously, it's only early days. It's only 2-1, but still good signs from BlueBees.
And they got lots of info here on Ruin. Sayachan does go down. Pero likely to be traded indeed. That it is. And look, that's decent. I'd say BlueBees probably won that engagement out. The Jackal's utility being off the board is probably more impactful than the Mute C4. So I think that they'll be quite happy with that.
Yeah, and there's only 1 minute 10 seconds remaining as well. So if you're going to be trading out, that's fine for the defense here. Get rid of one more attacker. Get rid of the Jackal. And it just helps late game as well. That Inox scanner not going to be something that they have to worry about late game. Sometimes all it takes is that one track, and then you get the ping, you get the information, and then you can just swing late game. Makes it easier for the attackers. Not going to be there. 45 seconds remaining. Still a bit of work to do as well for USG. They don't have a whole lot of time to do it. Yet they find the kill through DD. Yet again, something that we're seeing a little bit here is so far the trading power of BlueBees. They continue to keep this scoreline. 3 versus 3. DD, top Astro stairs. Along with Caillou though as well. 2 quick kills in the favor of USG. Down to just the Superman himself.
Found the opening kill for 3 rounds in a row, and now he's got to find the closing 2 with 15 seconds. Oh, and he does get that one. Now it's a 1v1, and that diffuser has not been planted. Caillou's got to try to get it down, but Isro! You hyped him up, and he delivers. What a clutch.
Against his former team, he is playing out of his skin. I mean, all I can say is that I feel vindicated in some ways, Steph. You know, the whole pre-match, I'm like, this guy here, Izro, he's nuts. He was a big factor against Sengoku Gaming, and he's doing it again. It's only early days, I know, but so far has been an instrumental piece of the puzzle to getting BlueBees off to a good start here on Villa. You mentioned the opening kills. Now, the closing kills. So in a way, if you were to have a statistic of who's, I guess, presenting the most percentage of, say, winning these particular rounds, he would be skyrocketed at the #1 position. 3-1. And the reason why they're up 3-1.
Absolutely no doubt about it. It really feels like every single round Izro has been the most impactful player in the server. 6 kills and 1 death at the moment. You know, kills on everything, but for Izro, like, every one of those kills has been pretty well impactful.
Well,
in fact,
just to quickly back you up there as well with that, sorry to cut you off, but it's like, it's either the opening kills or the closing kills. It's not like just these random middle kills that don't mean a whole lot.
Yeah, like the only round that BlueBees haven't won was when Izro got the opening pick, but then was traded back straight away. So you can quite clearly see that when Izro is shut down, when Izro is traded, even if he finds 1 kill, right? You know, credit to him that he's probably done his job if he gets 1 kill and gets traded. But like, that is the only way that Donuts USG have been able to win a round, is when they manage to shut him down.
In some ways, beyond just shutting him down, they need to not feed into him in the early rounds as well. And by them, I probably am looking towards DD, for example. It's just going to be that little bit more careful. You're constantly playing at a disadvantage, and it's just not going to help out, especially in your attacking half, which right now is not proving to be very fruitful. And it's kind of what I was trying to get at after that map ban phase as well in the pre-match discussion, that if BlueBees kind of take Villa in a pretty convincing fashion, it says a lot going into Oregon, really, that I don't know if I will be able to back in USG. Although, finally, to sort of buck the trend, it will be USG to find the opening pick. Renren onto Seochan, takes out Goyo. Nelfa falls as well immediately after that. So while Izro's down below roaming, USG is just actually just going to push straight onto these defenders instead, try and avoid him completely.
That is a great idea for Donuts USG, and they have a wide opening onto site, but unfortunately for Pero, loses that fight to Ruin. And now defending the site, really just trying to claw back this advantage. BlueBees hold on. They can now call back Izro to get to a more favorable position. Oh no! Kaio does eventually get it! That was such a big kill, such a pivotal kill. Ruin just overextending that little bit too much, and now Izro has to do what we know he can do.
He's got Palunga as well as the duo here, still remaining. 1 minute and 10 seconds on the clock here for the 5th round. It's almost so important for Donuts to find a round here. 4-1 scoreline would be so detrimental. Big kill onto Palunga. And while Izro has been an absolute stalwart so far, you cannot ask him to clutch a 1 versus 4. No expectation here.
Well, I don't know. If it was any other player, I'd say there's no expectation, but I have a little bit of expectation, knowing that it is Izro. See Kayu looking to get that diffuser down. Lovely shot at the end of it from Kawo. And, well, Unsold Stuff Gaming do find their 2nd round. And they're quite animated. Credit to them. Yeah. They are looking rejuvenated after that one.
Some signs of Crest Gaming versus Guts actually on day 1, when Crest Gaming just continued after every single round that they did win to taunt Guts Gaming. Didn't work out. They lost 2-0, but yet they did it anyway. But I like to see it. That's the beauty of the LAN environment, the beauty of the stage environment as well. And I think it just means they're getting into it. And it's only a 3-2 scoreline. We've only got 1 more round to go in the first half. 3-2 so far means it's either going to be a 4-2 defense, which, as you said, statistically is the case for Villa. But a 3-3 half as well would be suddenly, I guess, maybe a bit of a storyline shifter in the favor of USG. If they can make this a 3-3 half, if their defense is going to be strong enough to stand up to the attacking power of BlueBees, maybe there's a chance they can still take Villa after all.
Yeah, look, it's going to be hard. I'm hard pressed to believe that that USG is going to be able to really bring this back, but step by step, I think that they're on the right track, you know? Looking at that previous round, really just focusing on site and punishing the site anchors who are over-aggressing, leaving Isro in a position where there's not a lot that he can do, and he's got a 1v4. Like, that is a fantastic strategy for Donuts USG, especially considering, like we already mentioned, like they banned the Malusi. And the rounds that USG have won are the 2 rounds where they have really hard pressured site instead of hard committing to a roam clear. And I think that is just such a clear indication of what is going to work against Blue Bees. Don't feed into these roamers that are so good at their job, roaming, delaying time, finding picks. Instead, do what you need to in terms of map control. But at the end of the day, if you put some pressure on site, you're probably going to have a bit more luck.
Yeah, and the other part of it as well, it's not like it's an extensive team roam from Blue Bees. It's typically just Isro, right? The other 4 have been quite defensive on site. It's not like there's 2 or 3 roaming. It's not like an extensive roam game. So you can actually just turn your attention fully onto site, knowing there's going to be 4 players practically sitting on site. You've only got the one that you have to worry about. And as long as you've got some sort of decent flank watch, which in this case USG don't necessarily have, then they will be able to deal with just that one roamer in Isro, who is once again going on that roam.
Every round always running the impacts as well to try and make these pathways. You can see USG so cautious, so aware. It is Nelva who finds the opener. Untraded DD once again, the first victim of the round here. The final round of the half, but that's a good opener for Donuts USG, and they have shut down Ruin. Isro's still alive, finds one, evens it up 3v3. But the 2 site players are so low for Bluebees. Isro once again has to step up. It is just him and Palunga left. Palunga tosses over the Nitro. There's so much time left, but once again, it's Isro in a 1 versus 3.
There's 2 parts of this as well. Is Isro maybe too slow on the roam to get back over to site and help out? Or his teammates just falling too easily on site? Impact to open up an extra bit of sideline. Easy kill onto... Oh, wow. All he needs to do now is try and establish these 1v1s repetitively from here on out. He's done that with the first kill. Can he do that with the second onwards?
It is most definitely possible. Donuts USG have the time and they've got the angle. They can breathe a sigh of relief, and they are so happy about that one. A 3-3 half. And, well, that's something that they can walk away with.
And it's a highlight of how quickly things can change, or the narrative and how it can change so quickly as well. We were looking at a 3-1 scoreline, and we're probably pondering as to why we're seeing USG even head to Villa. And the proficiency of not just Isro, but Blue Bees so far they were looking great. And had 2 very quick rounds, might I add, as well. And 2 very convincing rounds to USG on the attack, and suddenly it's a 3-3 scoreline. You start to question a little bit, is this going to be a defensive side of Villa? Maybe it could end up being an attacking side of Villa. Of course, we know Blue Bees are very good on the attack on Villa as well to add that. So it's not like they're going to come into this attack on Villa being the underdog now, right? We kind of still expect them to do well. Isro onto the Nook, as expected. He's going to be annoying to deal with. So now Donuts onto the defense here. How they're going to play this? Are they going to just sit on site? Are they going to play into the roam game, knowing that Blue Bees are going to be very aggressive, roaming around, not just going directly to site, not just having that pretty methodical approach. And again, Dev, no hard breach for Villa is the go for Blue Bees.
Yeah, I mean, it's so clear, right, that the pattern for the success of Donuts USG is avoiding Isro. You know, for example, like the latter 3 rounds of that half, it was like Donuts put themselves in a position where they just picked off all the site anchors, and it was 3 or 4 players on their side versus Isro. Now, yes, Isro managed to clutch one of those, but failed in the other 2, and that's what really brought it back for Donuts. The thing is, now that Donuts USG are on the defense, like, they can't avoid Isro. Isro gets to dictate where he pushes, right? He's on the attack, and he's on the Nook, like you said, which means it's going to be so much more difficult to anticipate where he's going to come from, thanks to the held presence reduction. So Donuts can't really avoid him anymore. They can't keep skirting around this issue.
Yeah, and that means that they're going to have to sort of fight fire with fire, a little bit at least. They don't have to go into an extensive roam game or anything, but even just one or two that tries to sort of meet his gaze on the roam. This are actually not inside yet, which is very surprising compared to the gameplay that we saw of him actually on Villa and on day one. Typically got in almost immediately, would start roaming immediately, and clearing out rooms immediately, yet still outside. Still only 2 minutes on the clock, though. Obviously, a bit of decent information there for Room with the Gemini. They can start to sweep across over towards site, AVG. As they push in through Stat Trophy. And the one thing as well, typically with Stat Trophy pushing on towards AVG, you'd get 90 control, right? And they're not going to be able to open up that wall.
Does mean that we're going to have to see a numbers advantage from Blue Bees. We're going to have to see really pinpoint precision executes because they won't be able to dictate as many of these angles. Now, especially with that deployable shield, we've got one at top main stairs, we've got one in the objective. Oh, they need to dismantle those, and they do. That's a fantastic vertical nade from Isra. Goes to show he's not just a pretty face and a good aim, he also has the brains to dismantle that utility. And
wow,
okay, Ruin has just cleaned up 90.
Yeah. But this is the thing, though. You get that 90 positioning. Sure, you got the kills, and it's 5 versus 3. I guess you do have that numbers control after all, but you can't open up those extra sight lines now. So technically for USG, obviously Renran's in a little bit of trouble here, top brown. He can't really go back over towards that corridor. He'll die to the player at 90. Sayachan just gets hardcore, but now just falls back over the site. Successfully here for attackers, cleaning up this site. Ruin and Alpha found kills though, so it was only a 2-for-1 when it was all said and done. And Palunga clears out the last player inside of Vault. Great start to the attack for Bluebees, as expected.
Certainly happy about that one. Fist pumps from the coach. Couple questions for USG. How did we just let Ruin march up 90 and find 2 picks? Because that completely picked apart the USG defense. Like you said, you know, Bluebee's not running a hard breach, and I guess you don't need to when you can just find significant man advantages and really start to strangle out that bomb site, suffocate those players.
Well, if you think about Villa in a nutshell as well, when you actually really think about it, you're like, actually, you know what? You don't necessarily need a hard breach really all that much on any of the sites. Sure, it's nice, like it's a nice thing to have, but it's not a necessary inclusion. Like you have to have one, right? So it makes a lot of sense, and then it also plays into the play style of Blue Bees. And the thing about that last round in particular as well that stood out for me, Ruin finds those kills obviously when the player plays around 90, but then at the exact same time, you've got on the other side of the map, Israel is actually pushing towards brown stairs. So they are basically already going for that sort of principle movement as well. Pushing through 90, good play from brown stairs. It really stretches that defense of USG. So it does actually force those engagements, and they can't just sit on site. Otherwise, they'll give up all of that control. That's just not going to be capable of happening. Really good start for Bluebees. How does USG play into this, though? Stat Trophy.
I think the Stat Trophy pick's a good one, and I also like that they've triple reinforced the stat wall. A lot of teams will do open holds like we saw from Donuts USG on their Aviator defense. They got those main walls from the site into stat open. That's kind of become the meta these days, going for these aggressive holds. Really just enables the amount of crossfires that the attackers will have to walk into. But the thing is, like, Bluebee's not running a hard breach. Like, you may as well punish them for that by reinforcing as much as possible. You talk about hard counters, like look at this from Nelfa, just swatting out all of the Valk's cameras, all of the evil eyes. And, I mean, this is such a nicely placed camp, but it's not going to matter. Like, I might actually steal that one, honestly. But, I mean, it's not going to matter this round because it's an IQ.
Yeah, and while all of this is happening, the beauty of it as well is you just send Israel to really clear out the rest of the map down below, clear out these rooms on that Nook. So it means that they can actually spend a little bit of time here on the Twitch, on the IQ, clearing out a lot of this utility close to site. And then you have Isro basically roaming around elsewhere, very difficult to find him. You definitely already sense at least there with DD's positioning. They are expecting that push to come from Isro at some point, somewhere. Minute and a half remaining though, still 5 versus 5, yet no engagements have taken place. Can Bluebees extend out to a 5-3 lead?
There's so much info for BlueBees. Just look at Palunga flicking through all of these cameras, and they know really where so many players are. Oh, this nade is so close! Oh my god, that is a heck of a lot of damage onto Caillou. And Pero does, however, take down Ruin. Isro looking to lurk back under the objective. Pero still untraded as well, and Neltha's gone down. This has fallen to pieces.
Yeah, and again, though, it's when Israel's not involved that we're seeing USG really win these fights everywhere else. If Israel's not finding picks, if he's not creating that chaos environment, the rest of his team are just unable to land their shots, unable to win their fights. Israel, of course, now pushing over towards site. He got one. He might be able to find a second. No, not to be. Elsewhere, Palunga lost his life. That's the round that goes the way to USG. But a startling trend has begun to really rear its ugly head, Dev. If Israel's not involved, neither is his team.
It's very true, and also just a stunning round there from Pero. Real credit to the Wamai player on site, holding down the fort. I got to say though, like you were mentioning about Isro, I don't necessarily want to put it on, his shoulders. He can't be. It's not a viable play style to just say that it's all on one player to kind of frag out. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. The thing is, BlueBees did a lot really well. They started to take control of Master. They started to counter all this info gathering. They had so much information for themselves, but the lack of the hard breach really punished them. In my opinion, I think that if they had a hard breach, if they had just opened one of those stat walls, to which there was no wall denial, I might add, if they could just enable some more exposed anchors on site, then it really would have put pressure onto Donuts USG and really enabled them to start finding some more picks and enabling Isro to go for those flanks. Because if the defense isn't finding any pressure, then they're not going to get taken advantage of by Isro. He's not going to have any opportunity. You need to have the hammer and the anvil. Otherwise, I mean, you're just going to swing and miss.
What you're saying, Dev, is you're not a big fan of this no hard breach team composition.
Camera feed up and running.
It can work, but I don't think it's necessary. I mean, I think that there are some great op picks here on BlueBees side, but I think you could definitely get rid of Sayachan's Twitch, just bring an Ace instead, or a Hibana. Really just give yourself so many more options and opportunities.
I don't necessarily disagree, but I have seen it obviously work out pretty well on day one where they had a 4-2 attacking half, no hard breach at all. That trophy was the one site that definitely gave them some issues. Outside of that though, everything else was actually pretty clean and easy, even AVG, right? A site that you would maybe expect to see some hard breach either through Study or 90. But no, they're going to back themselves in. It's a 4-4 scoreline. It has been that kind of game. Back and forth, no real massive lead. I think 3-1 being the largest that BlueBees had. Donuts, though, definitely in a position where they can maybe hold out defensively and take this opening map. It is their map pick. Isro on the rappel. Again, that has been somewhat of a difference compared to their Villa on day one. Isro generally was getting in sight a little bit earlier, roaming a little bit earlier, and clearing a little bit earlier. The downside to not doing it earlier is that in the late game, he's maybe not going to be quite there as ready to go to help out his team.
Real good information here from Pero. You can see how many players on the defense are on cameras right now. Pero, Kawu, and Kawau all on these cameras, just looking out.
Time. Look at the time, minute 20, and how much has really been accomplished here for BlueBees. Remembering, they're not running the hard breach. They can't just open up sight lines late round. They need to find kills. It's something that you mentioned before, James, the sort of the numbers advantage. Basically, the last time they won AVG, they found the 2 kills over towards 90. They were then able to use that 2-man advantage to basically take control of site.
Here comes some kind of pressure, and it looks like Isro downstairs as well, looking to find some vertical nades. Oh my god, that's a hell of a lot of damage onto 2 players, and Kawa does go down. You can see the retort, though, is prompt, and the Magnet is going to cook that nade. Hello, Pero! That fingers, unfortunately, and that enables the trade to come through from Isro. 1v3, done it once before, failed it twice. Let's see if 4th time he'll have any more luck.
They've got the early information, though.
Covered the diffuser.
I think they've already got him pretty well pinched. Again, though, how many times is Israel going to be in this predicament?
Bomb diffuser has been dropped.
It's not a viable long-term solution. He might be able to clutch the odd 1v3 here or there, but it's not something that can be done every single round. It is now a 5-4 advantage for USG. While Blue Bees got off to a great start here on Villa, USG, through sheer willpower, have been able to claw back to now their first lead on this map.
USG have won 4 of the last 5 rounds, and honestly, it probably should have been, 5 of the last 6 rounds with that 1v3 clutch from Israel that probably shouldn't have happened. So I think USG are very satisfied right now. You can see that, I think, being animated even when you're losing, it's something we saw from USG. I think it's fantastic. You keep the mentals high. I mean, Blue Bees don't look too upset, but they're definitely not quite as energetic as we saw from USG when USG were struggling in the first half. And Blue Bees are the ones that now we're really looking at. Being like, okay, mate, like you need to move strongly from here on out on your attack. You need to show us that 4-2 attack half that you managed against Sengoku. Because if not, Donuts, USG are going to find themselves on match point within a round and within 2, sending us to Oregon. Blue Bees definitely have the possibility to get this series done in 2 maps, but they really need to pull something better out of Villa.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull out one of my favorite tropes of the I could be wrong-ism here, Dev, but it seems as if with the Dokkaebi pick for Israel, he probably will keep it a little bit more closer to home with the rest of his team, rather than for that very extensive solo roam that you can see from the Nook. And I think that's actually going to be a good choice if it does play out like that way. Obviously, could be wrong, but I think that's probably what Blue Bees need right now on the attack, right? Less of this sort of 4 versus 5 and hope Israel does something somewhere solo, and actually go in as that core 5, play off of each other, try and go for those trades a little bit more. You can still have Israel go for like a bit of a soft roam, keep it close on the Dokkaebi. You can still make those calls and be impactful even without being there immediately, as Kawau with a bit of a rat position here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you one player who's not going to be playing close to their team. Whether Israel does or doesn't, it doesn't matter. Kawau is definitely not going to be doing it. The Kavera pick, really, I think this has got to be an Israel counter. Like, this has got to be Kawau thinking, okay, Israel always goes in downstairs, always enters solo. I can surely find interrogation. And that, I really love the gusto of that. Funnily enough, Israel going onto the Dokkaebi does provide some extra utility that will make it much harder for Kawau to go for these sneaky plays when those logic bombs ring out. But there's only 1 left for Israel.
Yeah. And he's not playing as close to his team as I thought, so I'm glad I prefaced with the I could be wrong, because I was wrong.
You are. Honestly, like, Kawau could absolutely find a flank here. I don't believe there's anyone watching the top main flank watch drones. Kawau, ooh, got a suppressor on the primary as well. You can see Israel playing really slowly, just cautious of a flank. So I think it's smart that Kawau isn't getting too aggressive too early, but definitely as the round gets later, like, he's going to feel more pressure to flank.
But again, it just feels like Blue Bees proverbially are not checking off the checklist all that quickly. A minute 14 seconds remaining, and you've just got Israel. Oh, that could be big. Never mind, it actually is not going to be big. I thought the timing of it could have actually resulted in finding a kill through that Nitro cell, but now, finally, with a minute left, are we seeing Nalfa open up some of these vertical sight lines? But again, is it maybe too little too late?
Or Israel so close now. Does drop downstairs though, and gives some mobility up to Kawau. Now, who is watching flank? Palunga is the first one to draw blood, and that's for the attacking side. And it looks like Blue Bees are starting to mount their push, but not met without contention. The Cav does find a pick above, and the rest of these Blue Bees players have rotated downstairs. They are so close to exploding into the site.
24 seconds remaining into the round. Match point on the other side here if USG can just hold on defensively. Israel on the other side. Ruin now pushes through. It's Sayachan though who finds maybe the entry pick on the side at the right time. Israel gets shut down by DD. Big pick, big kill. Palunga now starts to stick the stick the diffuser. Sayachan has gone huge here late. He's got 3 kills in the round. But there's no time. Palunga got killed off the diffuser. USG win the round that they probably shouldn't have.
Oh my god, what a play from Caillou. That was on the Maestro upstairs. As soon as Bluebees started to transfer their pressure from upstairs down to just flooding into the site, Caillou, instead of holding on and trying to really deny that push into the site, he actually just rotates upstairs, sits in Astro. He's got an evil eye watching where that plant goes down, and with 1 second left on the timer, goes for a floor bang and takes out the diffuser planter. That was what happened. That was such a smart play from Caillou on the Maestro, and a well-deserved match point for USG.
What a turnaround from a 3-1 scoreline to 4-6 in favor of Donuts USG on their map pick. The question really coming into this was USG going to be able to suffocate the attack of Bluebees, and while it hasn't necessarily been one maybe for the replays, it's still been job done technically. Yes, that last round, Bluebees, should they be winning it? Probably, yet they don't. And you can probably say there was a couple of rounds that Bluebees actually did win that they maybe shouldn't have won either. So it all, you know, what goes around comes around, I guess. And I think now the scoreline that we do see is the one that we do deserve. 4-6, match point, map point as well for Donuts USG.
This could very easily be 7-3 right now. Like, keep in mind, oh, Bluebees, that's a really nice punish there for Renzo upstairs. But keep in mind that like one of those defense rounds won by Bluebees was a 1 versus 3 retake clutch by Isro. And Donuts USG really let that one slip. They really could have nailed that one down there. Had they done so, had they prevented that clutch, had they not fed into Isro's playstyle, this would have been a 7-3. A dominant first map for Donuts USG on a map that we expected a lot out of Bluebees. Now, they find themselves on match point, but they're a man down. And that is somewhat a cause for concern because Bluebees, they love playing off these man advantages. They've also brought a hard breach for the first round. It is Nelfa on the ace, and that's really going to enable a much more direct push onto that site. You can see the fact that Bluebees are already getting onto it is really just a showing that they have made some changes and they are ready to just hard pressure this site presence.
Yeah, and of any of the sites as well, they're going to need it on stat trophy, so it's really well timed for Bluebees. They can still have Isro roaming around. He's on Jackal now. In fact, that might actually speed him up a little bit too with that roam game. Wow, just makes the I guess the bullet sort of just weave past his body because he probably should have died with that run back. But still, minute and a half remaining. Isro needs to get moving. Pero. Oh, hang on a second.
No, Isro!
Oh, he didn't quite expect the second player to be there though. So it's a 1-for-1 trade. Still leaves that one-man advantage for Bluebees. Caillou! The gun comes out, the shield goes on the back, and he falls on his back courtesy of Palunga. Still 3 versus 2, the trade came through. Only the one-man advantage. Hero and Kawau, can they bring it back for Donuts USG to close out Villa?
The Flores drone perfectly timed in the peak. Nelfa finds the double Bluebees. They break that losing streak. It took them 4 tries, but they finally break through and find a second attack round, keep their dream alive of pushing overtime.
Wow. We haven't had an extensive amount of OTs throughout the championship. I'm actually just doing the old classic dev and just going to talk. So the Fab Orthros, Orthros Grit game, or best of 3, was the only best of 3 that had 2 overtimes. The only other one that had an overtime was Guts versus Crest. So 3 OTs out of 6 best of 3s. That's a lot of maps that have not gone to OT. Do we find one here on Villa to kickstart this best of 3? One that we considered to be, I guess, a pretty evenly matched affair, and it's shaping up to be that way. And even if it doesn't go to overtime, technically, you know, a 7-5 scoreline, I always consider that to be a pretty close match anyway. And it has played out that way. Bluebees started strong. USG have brought it back. But now Bluebees sort of with their last hurrah here to extend this over into overtime. And the thing that I've probably taken the most note of, Isro, who started so well, has slowed down. But in that, we have started to see others pick it up a little bit. Sayachan had a triple kill round. Ruin has been impactful. So at least it's not just the Isro show. That's a really, really important sign for Bluebees moving forward.
Attackers are moving out to
Yeah,
locate a bomb.
Sayachan's had some great entries, and also I just want to point out, like, Nelfa, yeah, found a couple kills last round, but just the ability to move onto that hard breach, I don't know whether that was his call, whether it was another player's call, but it was a fantastic call. And really just opened up the game for Bluebees. Strange to see that Donuts USG is actually going back to Trophy Stat, knowing they just lost it, especially since Aviator Games is now unlocked, but they already lost Aviator Games earlier in the match, and I think I actually respect this decision. Instead of going to retry a bomb site that they think is more vulnerable, they go retry the bomb site they just lost, knowing exactly what they need to do to fix it. And that is ditching the Clash, getting Caillou back onto the Maestro that he clutched with just 2 rounds ago, and most pivotally, bringing this Caillou. This is such a big adaptation, countering the hard breach from Nelfa. And so I think this is a perfect opportunity for Donuts USG to really lock this game in. I think that they've done the necessary adaptations.
So potential final round here in the opening map of this best of 3 in the quarterfinals here of the Japan Championship. Still a long way to go though in this series. Ren. Over towards bathroom, not able to find anything yet. Minute 40 seconds remaining to through. Terror drones, of course, starting to open up some sight lines as well, clear out some of that utility.
Bomb located by attackers.
Drone up.
Really good progress here from Bluebees, all things considered. Countering that utility is so strong with those Roteros, like you said, really droning out this top floor control. Rento doesn't want to give it up for free though, and as Ruin runs in, likely to be met with some contention. Now there's a lot of C4s, 3 to be exact, on the USG side. And there were some cameras, some information below. More and more, this utility for Donuts USG has been stripped away. Surely Ruin finds the nade pick here. Did Ren fall back fast enough? Indeed, I think he managed to pull it off. Bluebees yet to draw that first blood. And I say that, I jinx poor Kawao. And Ren fights back! Sayachan for the entry! It is back and forth. We find ourselves a one-man advantage for Bluebees. Make that 2! Nelfa goes in!
4 versus 2. We're on the edge of an overtime here. Palunga gets the kill onto Pero. Only Caillou remains on the Maestro. And he's no! Oh, 2 big kills onto Palunga and Nelfa. The fuse are down, but the swing from Sayachan. Overtime.
Wow, definitely did not expect it to go that way, but Bluebees came to life. A valiant effort from Caillou in the 1v4, but could not get it done. Bluebees have pushed back. And while USG had such a strong defense, Bluebees made the necessary changes. Slow and steady wins the race. They climbed back up that hill. And now in overtime, it's anyone's game.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think for Bluebees, more than anything, they've been able to stem the bleeding, right? I think the stat was something like 5 of 6 rounds or 4 or 5 rounds, whatever it was. So you've been able to sort of stem the tide a little bit. There was 2 match points in the side of Donuts USG, 2 match points that they have now forfeited over to Bluebees. We head into overtime. Bluebees will remain on the attack as well, where they've obviously started to really hone in their proficiency on said attack as well. So massive opportunity to see if now Bluebees can find themselves in a position of match point.
See, a lot of questions to be answered now for USG. They tried to adapt on that previous round with the stat defense, with the Caillou being brought out. Didn't seem to matter at all for Bluebees. So this time they're going instead back to Aviator Games. They won this once, they lost it once. And they're going to give it another crack. They brought the Capcan back into the fold, hoping that DD can catch a player off guard early. And really, in a lot of these defenses, it has been Pero, currently 15 and 10, who has found the opening pick, who's found a big multi-kill. no doubt that's what he'll be looking to do this round, but Blue Bees have that momentum on their side.
Just a reminder as well, this is the map pick of USG. Obviously, we've prefaced that Blue Bees are pretty decent at Villa, but still, when it's your map pick, you've got expectations to perform. Who knows what Oregon is to bring after this? It could be a very one-sided Oregon. We don't know. Of course, that being the map pick of Blue Bees. And the ace and the hard breach has definitely been a notable change in the results for Blue Bees as well, Dev.
Oh, absolutely. Like, Blue Bees really changed their tack. They stopped trying to like counter all the info gathering like the Valk by picking IQ. And instead they're just like, look, let's just focus on breaching in this site. And Nelfa has had an absolute field day with the AK. Pero shut down earlier. I said he was the man that had to step up for USG, and now he's shut down. Blue Bees have every opening they need. They've got the Flores, they've got the Ace, they've got so much util. And the pressure is ramping up.
Minute and a half remaining. Oh, wow, that's an easy kill. That's diffuser down as well on the study balcony. Pings it out. Good information for USG. Everyone trying to push up brown stairs. Has the Gemini got rid of the barbed wire. Ren holding up above and is now all out of gas babes. None left. Ruin will be able to get a little bit of information now here as well. Find that smoke at the top of brown stairs. Wow, inside a study. The hutch corner, 4 versus 4, 1 minute left.
Israel's in such a powerful position as well to backstab, but Kawau still aggressive in study. And still the player at top of main stairs, that's Ren, no gas left, but you can see Ruin really wants to take out this player. Bluebees really need to break this duo holding on to main stairs. And Renzo does get a huge pick, Kawa as well. And it looks like it might be another match point opportunity for Donuts USG.
Oh, and again, how many times have we seen Izzo in a 1v3 or a 1v4?
15 seconds to go.
USG on the verge of retaining match point once again. They will be up 7-6. If Blue Bees are to win here on Villa, they will need to do so in 15 rounds.
Smiles at least on some of the faces from Blue Bees, but there's no denying the energy from USG is unparalleled. They have been the team riled up, rearing, ready to go this whole game long. And they found themselves their 3rd match point round. Another opportunity to close out their map pick. Considering it is only their map pick, there is a lot of pressure on USG. Should they lose this, Oregon, I mean, it's not going to be a pretty sight. This has certainly been a tiring game for Blue Bees, though, always seemingly fighting just to even the scoreline. They're going to have to do so now, and they're going to have to do so on their defense.
They had a pretty decent defense, obviously got out to a 3-1 start at the very beginning of this match on said defense. It was then, though, USG that brought it back.
Well secured.
It remains to be seen, I guess, maybe the internal expectations here for Blue Bees as well. I mean, it's not their map pick. Obviously, they would be probably feeling confident going into this Villa, but as long as their Oregon is as good as they maybe think it is by picking it, then they probably aren't too worried and then can expect to go to that 3rd map, which is Coastline. Both teams
10 seconds left.
have shown their ability to win on Coastline as well as of recently. 7-3 against Enterforce for USG and 7-4 for Blue Bees against EVA.
Attackers are
Or
moving out
Eva.
to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Even. So realistically, this could end up just being a best of 3, Dev, where, you know, both teams just win their map picks and then we go to that decider on Coastline and see who takes it there.
Yeah, for Oregon, I'm really not going to know what to expect until we get into the server, just because of the lack of info. But here on Villa, oh, this is such a good start for USG. Already 30 seconds into the round, countering that top red position, destroying the Vulcan shield. That's great work from DD really early on with the Flores. And just getting really good vibes from USG here. On this attack, they've got the momentum on their side. They're already droning out, getting a lot of good info. Well, they do have one drone hatch there. I believe they were able to take it down. Perro shut down last round. Now back onto the nook and ready to deal some damage.
Well, one thing's for certain, if I'm BlueBees, I'm banning out Flores going into Oregon. USG have been able to really bring him to good use here on Villa. Still no opening pick yet, but it is only the minute 52nd remaining mark of this overtime match point round for USG. And Ruin somehow stays alive, but not for long. Forced into the sightlines of Guao. Really well executed there from Donuts USG.
That was just such a good play from Donuts USG. But that said, Isro here lurking her right around the corner, and he does get it. That is such a big pick, but the trade is so close, so tight. And USG, they once again find themselves in the advantage, but BlueBees, thanks to Isro, have made this a little bit closer. Might not be close enough, though. USG have such strong positions. A C4 from Palunga, and potentially a nice shot here from Isro could turn the tide.
Still 1 minute remaining. Sayachan gets the kill onto DD. It's falling apart here offensively for USG. BlueBees once again making a bit of a final stand to send it to the 15th round. Caillou and Renren. It seems as if it's a bit of a ring around the rosy moment. Nelfa though tried to bring in the pistol. Just fell short, but Renren falls to the ground. Caillou with a very low health Maverick in a 1 versus 3. I'm expecting we will be going to all 15 rounds, and we are.
Oh, there's actually a lot of droning. So I feel like they're probably going to see most of these frost mats. I feel like it might not have the biggest impact. That said, we got some good drone denial from the mute from DD, really getting those aggressive. You can see one of the drone hole there in Mudroom where those 2 frost mats were placed. You can see both teams trying to make adaptations as Donuts USG go back to kitchen dining, which it's not a bomb site that they've played very many times, just once in their half. They did win it thanks to really a close clutch from, I believe it was Caillou on the Maestro at the time.
Yes,
in the 1v2.
Denied the plan.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, overall, that round looked really good from BlueBees. So I have a lot of confidence in them here. I feel like if anyone's favorite, it's got to be BlueBees.
Technically, I think it was a 1v3, right? Because he killed the planter, which then once he killed the planter and diffuses on the ground, then it's a 1v2. So yeah, that was a very close round. I think in fairness to that, though, I think BlueBees got off to a good start in that particular round as well, but that feels like a lifetime ago. It's pretty simple, though. When it comes to the win conditions, I think BlueBees have always been at their best when they find early kills, James. When they get that opening kill, or if they get a 5-3 advantage, they do tend to capitalize. It's when USG find an opening pick. When they put BlueBees on the back foot, BlueBees actually tend to fall over pretty easily.
BlueBees have been on the upper hand in these opening engagements all match long. Like they've found 9 out of the 14 opening kills so far. You can see a lot of aggression coming out. That's a nice pre-placed C4. Is there info in Master? We've seen BlueBees run the RQ before, but ever since bringing the Flores and the Ace, they've switched off of it, and that means they might be more vulnerable. If they get in the building to these vertical C4s, as you can see, USG is just looking for an opportunity.
Well, there is that Nitrocell that does eventually explode. Nelfa, though, just barely stays alive. That's massive, though. It sucks that he's low health, but he's able to stay alive throughout some Selmas and have an impact on the Ace. If he dies there, no hard breach, and you lose a player. So, big moment there. It does go down now. It was obviously low health, so it didn't take much. 50 seconds remaining. Does get brought back up, though, but does that maybe put someone else in a bad position as well? A bit of a trap here, a bit of a pincer. Paris is going to go maybe for the swing. The Rotero drone elsewhere gets droned out, so there's information that looks like BlueBees going straight for sight.
And Carwood goes down, but oh my god! Kills back and forth. Pero found himself a very aggressive position. And USG have the control. Sayachan! He's got this, surely! It's just Pero v3.
Very low health though. Pero gets a lot of information. A lot of DD can deny the plan as well, but it's Sayachan! The guard! Watching over the shoulder of Israel. Bluebees will take Villa.
Oh my god. Match point, they got a hole in one.